Yeah,
Dude.
we were just talking about how we were talking about ghost notes. I randomly just pressed record in the middle of Ian and I's conversation because I was just like, shit, we need to be catching this because it's so true. But
so true.
Ian was telling this story about trying I think they were made in the 90s, right? Those trace heads, like the V12, I think, wasn't the
one that I was playing? It was either a V6 or a V8 at a music store.
V8,
I don't know if anybody remembers, but it was their attempt to do like a SVT. It was an all-tube Trace Elliott head through their 810, and it was glorious. Like maybe the best bass sound. I mean, it wasn't on a gig. It was in a store, but I was young and I was like, oh, it was so different than any other amp I'd ever played. And every note was like
and you said it's the ghost notes, isn't it? The ghost note when you're playing through a big cab like that. Because everybody here will probably have experienced like when you play a note through a loud rig, that's sort of like you feel the note. But like when you're playing through an 810 with a really like big head on it, when you play ghost notes, it does the same thing. You feel the ghost note. And our statement was, if you can't feel the ghost note, it's bullshit. We should have t-shirts with that on. If you can't feel the ghost note, it's bullshit.
Well, it's cool because it makes everything you play intentional too, because you can feel it. It almost makes your ghost notes feel like kick drums. And then what happened to me, or what happens to me when I'm on a rig like that, is like I'm not just playing them willy-nilly. I'm like, oh, I have to be intentional about them because they're contributing, right, to the overall vibe on stage. And dude, if you can't feel a ghost note, it's bullshit. Yeah, I think that seriously, we should do a tee with that. But it's true, and I think that to your point, you play completely differently when you can feel the ghost note through the amp. Like it becomes part, like more of your musical expression, rather than this sort of like thing that might just incidentally happen because you like, you probably play too many ghost notes. We all play a few too many ghost notes, right? But with that, you're just like, you have to simplify it down. Does this mean that, is this the excuse that we all have to go out and buy big fat 8x10s and valve amps? I mean, look, dude, I know now that the whole thing is like you stack little 12s and you have the little rig and there's a quiet stage. But man, I mean, if you haven't ever, dear podcast listener, enjoyed the experience of being just trouser flapped by an 810, you just gotta do it. It's so... Yes.
On a gig, on a gig, when you get that, and just to put it out there, when you just add like a hair of compression on there as well.
Yes. And then you have all this horsepower in reserve, right? You have all this horsepower, and then you don't have to play very hard. I love being through an amp live where like, if I even step out, I even play like 60% of strength. It's like, whoa, that's almost a little too loud. And then you're like, oh, damn. And then it's like driving a fast car slow. It's the coolest thing ever. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's just like, you're just driving the fast car 25 miles an hour. It's all good. Oh, you could push it down. Could you push the accelerator down? Of course. And maybe you do for a minute, but then maybe you let it back off, dude. It's cool. It feels so good.
So good. Yeah. I was watching a Philip Conrad video recently, and he might have, they were talking about valve amps. It was one of his older videos. Shout out to Philip Conrad's
Conrad, we love you,
YouTubes.
Man.
We love your vibe, Philip.
I
love you. He does videos out in his garden. Well, it's not in the garden; it's in woods somewhere. But I live near some woods, so Philip, if you watch me do a random video in the woods one time in the next few months, you have inspired that, my friend, because it's so freaking cool. I was like, yeah, he's got the Mustang with the flats, and he's in the woods. Like, there's no better vibe than that. I'm like, bring it on. But
that's so good. Yeah,
I was watching one of his videos, and he was talking about the difference between valve amps and regular amps. And he said that, and I think that he maybe somebody described it to him like this. He was like, it's like the difference between running on sand and running on like a training track, asphalt. I think that you guys call it or something like
asphalt,
that. Asphalt. Yeah. The difference between running on asphalt and running on sand, it's just a little spongier, but it alters how you run. And likewise, a valve amp can alter how you play as well, because the feel of it is different. And I think that is what is lost when, for me at least, when you there is an audible difference when you listen to Valve amp versus regular amp on YouTube, but it's not the same
as when you're experiencing it in the room.
Yeah, it's just not the same. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And then, dude, this is so funny because this just makes me want to repeat the cycle, because I did this. I bought all the tube amps, SVT, B15, the esoteric Sadowski tube amp. Then I'm changing the tubes. What tube is going to give me the perfect bit of sponge or asphalt? I want to find that happy medium. And then playing on the gig, playing somebody's first dance at a wedding gig, and tube goes out. And now what are you? You're an asshole. You're an asshole for choosing that amp, to play. Oh, dude, so now I'm in this zone because I'm, playing gigs on the road, doing stuff, going out and doing some fly gigs, doing, a little bit of stuff with Dessa, Eric Hutchinson, these artists I play with. And guess what, dude? They don't care at all.
They do not want the tube going down.
And the bass just has to work. Yeah. But I pine away for those days, Scott.
But you're using, just to put it out there, you're using certain things in your chain that do give you that tube-esque sound.
Yes, right? Definitely. And I think like amp emulators, multi-effects, like HX Stomp, or like the Origin, that's such a good one. The DI that they make that, does a Fender, or like a
this
SVT.
One I've got both, I think I've got both of them here.
Dude,
for the YouTubers.
I got one pulled up here too.
Got these.
Oh, see, I just have the one. Oh, but the one's back here, dude. I've got them both too. Come on.
Matches.
Yeah.
Have you got one of these? By the way, we are going to be talking about pedals today. Have you got one of these? I bet you have.
This is just like a competition now. Let me see what you got. Oh. Okay, hold up. I see your big box, Callie, and I raise you a whole ass pedal board, dude.
Oh, he's got the Noble on there as well. Amazing.
Dude, side note, do you remember the movie RoboCop from our youth?
The film RoboCop? Hell yeah, dude. Yeah.
I feel like that's where is from, dude. Do you remember that? Dude, it's the scariest part in RoboCop. It's when they've shot Murphy
his fingers
a million times,
yes.
and the bad guy, Clarence, is over him with a shotgun, and he says, "I don't like cops." No, what does he say? Cops don't like me, so I don't like cops. And then he goes, oh, dude, I get goosebumps right now just thinking about it. And he shoots his hand off.
Yeah, and these little fingers fly off and stuff.
Dude,
yeah.
It's so...
What did you think about the remake? Did you like I liked the remake.
I didn't watch it. I love the original so much. I mean, I saw it too young. Shout out to old Bob Allison, who showed me that movie when I was 8. Hey.
No way. Amazing.
Yes. Probably just made me who I am. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe a little too young.
Yeah, for better or for worse. Probably for worse. It's probably why I'm fucked. But I love that movie so much anyway. Yeah. Dude.
It's awesome, isn't it? Anyway. Yeah, but all that to say that you've got stuff in your signal chain to give you that certain spunginess. I don't think it's exactly the same. I don't think it's exactly the same as Valve, but it's cool. It does. I do like that sponginess. Just switching gears, just to bring it back to the. I'm going to bring it back to the pedals in a minute, but just a heads up to everybody that a few weeks ago we talked about a giveaway that we were doing. We talked about a giveaway, and we talked about that. I was going to... The whole question was... Well, first of all, just if anybody doesn't know, we're doing a giveaway right now.
We are.
We're doing a big giveaway right now, and we're giving away 5 incredible basses. Like, incredible. And these aren't any old basses. These are actually my personal basses that I'm throwing in. So... Yeah, very cool.
All of them, right? All of them?
All of them. So I'm giving away...
That's a first, right? That's a first.
It is a first, yeah. Yes. So I'm giving away my kind of legendary VF4 F bass.
The one you did Player's Path with.
I did Player's Path. I've maybe recorded more SBL material on that bass than any other bass. So we're giving away that 4-string, which is beautiful. I see people that have got it on Instagram that have obviously like sent them a picture of me playing that bass and said, "Hey, make this bass."
Oh, amazing!
So, yeah, it's a great bass, man. So we're giving away that. We're also giving away another VF6, which is another F bass, VF6.
The grey one.
The grey one. That one's incredible. And it's like, there's all of these. Well, first of all, there's barely any VF6s out there. So it's a really incredible bass if you get your hands on it. It's great to play. And there's a bunch of different features about that bass that are kind of unique. The finish, it's also got a ramp on it. It's got these sort of like glow-in-the-dark dots that you can't see on video, but it's got these glow-in-the-dark dots on the side of it. Like, yeah, it's really cool, Cool. So we're giving away that. We're also, what else are we giving away? We're giving away, oh God, my White Tiger Ken Smith, which is incredible. It is just an incredible bass. White Tiger Ken Smith. I actually, and I've talked about this over the last few weeks, sound wise, I actually preferred that for the album, for the Divine King Project album. Sound wise, I preferred it in the mix than this bass here, but I use this because of the playability is just amazing, and I just love the bass. This is more of a Fendery kind of sort of like jazz bass on steroids kind of, or sort of like smoother jazz bass kind of vibe, whereas the Ken Smith has got that real fusion kind of vibe about the mid-tonal quality.
Yeah, there's a point in the top.
Cuts through that mix like a freaking knife. So I almost used that for the album actually, but I didn't because I just preferred the slightly wider string spacing actually, which is weird. Wider string spacing on this, and also the pickup is like a ramp right under my fingers. So this is why I use the banana bass in the end. So I'm giving away the White Tiger, and then we've got the VF4 F bass, we've got the VF6 F bass, we've got the White Tiger Ken Smith, which is the full blown custom model as well. And then we've got my own personal Gary Willis signature bass, which I'm gonna weep about when that goes, because it's a fretless and it's just absolutely incredible. That's in the mix, and I just thought it'd be cool because this is also kind of wrapped up in the album that we're doing, and Willis was one of the big influences for the album, so I thought it was like just tied together with the narrative. And then finally,
well, wait, hold on. I just want to say real quick about the Willis bass before you move on to the last bass. That bass, I remember you being like, "Oh, it's so great," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." But then we did a video. We made a fretless video. And it won't be out by the time this pod comes out, but we made a fretless video, and Scott played the Ibanez Willis, and every time you played it, I was like, "Shit, that bass sounds good." Every single time you played it. And I know that's about your hands, and I know that's about your heart and your brain and your sinew, and you're right, tone is in the hands, but that bass sounds phenomenal. And every note you played, I was like, damn.
Yeah, there is something really unique about those basses. There is. It's because it's really like Swamp Ash. There's just sort of like, I haven't played any of the fretlesses that sound like the Willis basses. I will say that. There's something really special about them. So there's that one. And then weeks ago, when we knew we were going to do this giveaway, we were choosing the basses to go in the giveaway, and I joked. I was like, "Oh, maybe I should give away the banana bass. Maybe the banana bass should be like the first prize." And we all laughed, and we're like, "Oh,
right." I was like,
then,
"Are you gonna?"
Yeah, and then sort of like a few weeks go by, and it came up again, and I was like, well, maybe, and this is what we talked about on the podcast, didn't we? We were like, well, maybe like we get one of these made.
Sure.
So we're like, hey, this is the first prize. We're going to get F-Bass to make you one of these basses, identical to this. But then, because I haven't actually spoken to you properly about it, I don't think I have anyway. I went away on holiday, basically. It gave me time to step away from my basses. It was a week. We spent it in Spain with the kids and my wife and stuff. It was cool. Yeah. We swam in the sea, all of that shit. Anyway, and while I was away, I was just reflecting on it, and part of this giveaway is that we're raising money in partnership with Pencils of Promise, who we've done this over the last 3 years. Up to date, we've raised $173,000. We've built 2 entire schools.
Wow.
Completely. Yes. Yeah. And I was sort of like, I guess thinking about this, the impact that we've had with the bass community, and that we're doing it again this time round. And dude, I was just like, if I give away the banana bass, it's just going to make people go, oh, just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that made me think it needs to be the bass. It needs to be this bass.
Yeah, it's going to be that bass.
Yeah, it's going to be this bass, which is bonkers to say because it's my favorite bass. Maybe my favorite bass of all time. And I've just recorded my first album on it under my own name, Divine King Project. So it's like really special. So I think that all of that kind of like adds up, and kind of, I will say, I was watching the documentary that we made, and I'm like playing this bass all throughout the documentary, and I was like, oh.
You're like, I can't give this away.
Fuck. Well, I was, by this point, I'd already made the decision. I was like, I'm going to do it. So to all you listeners, this is the bass that you can get. So I'm giving this bass away. So,
I mean, I will say too, testimonial. I mean, you did Slap Accelerator on that bass.
Oh yeah,
I've played that bass for videos when I've been out there, and it is amazing. That bass is totally like your bass. It's an era, right? You have these eras with basses. Yeah. It's going to be so, dude, as you were telling that story about like that, you're thinking about it, you thought it's a good cause, it'll generate so much excitement, right? You're just going to do it. I thought, how cool is this? Like, you have these eras with instruments, where like people identify you with certain basses. I mean, Overwater, right? Then of course the P bass of Doom. I remember watching a ton of content that you recorded with that red Nate Mendel P bass too.
Oh yes.
Dude, that was an era. You played that for a while.
Dude, and then, that bass was killer.
Yes, I know. And I was like, oh, damn, that's so cool. And then, of course, there was the silver Mulan. Then there was the two-tone... the 4-string PJ that you're giving away, the F bass.
PJ, yeah.
I know I'm forgetting some, but of course, then the banana bass. I'm sure there was one before that. Oh,
there's
Ken
maybe
Smith.
One. The Ken Smith 4-string. The 4, yeah. Some of them last a long time.
Yes.
I think the ones where some of them are like true eras, aren't they? They're like, that was the thing. I think it definitely, like there was the Overwater era.
Yep.
There was the P-bass era, the P-bass of Doom.
Definitely.
And then that transitioned into the Nate Mendel P-bass, which was just incredible. Sounded nothing like a P-bass, really. It was so hot.
That hot pickup, yeah.
My God, that pickup is just insane. Like in a great way, but God damn it doesn't sound like a P-bass. It's like a dog, it's like an angry dog.
Yeah, right. Real mid-rangey.
Oh, really mid-rangey, yeah. So that was definitely an era. And then I think that the F bass, the VF4, that custom one that I'm giving away in this giveaway, was definitely an era. And then I think that the other one, like I flitted around, and then I think that the banana bass has definitely been sort of like an era. I think that
agreed.
Yeah, so there's only actually been maybe like 4 or 5 true eras. I think for it to be an era, it needs to be used for like well over a year, I think. Maybe like 18 months to 2 years. So I'm also, I will say, I'm excited about finding the next... finding the bass, and we talked about it. Is like, what is it going to be? It's so exciting. Right. It's like almost like leaving a country and and traveling to other countries, knowing that I'm going to settle in one of these countries, but I'm not sure.
Right.
Where it's going to be, like where the journey's going to lead me.
Dude,
it's so fucking exciting, dude.
It's a journey. Bon voyage, bro. You're about to embark on another bass journey.
There's definitely pain. I will say that this is the one that I think that is going to be the most emotionally challenging to let go because of the album, because it was.
Yes.
But I think it's a reminder also to myself that these are tools, and these are tools that don't belong to me, actually. And we've talked about this, that after they've belonged to me, we'll go out into the world and they'll belong to other multiple people will own these basses. And I just think it's so fun to think of these basses going through different people's hands and how people fall in love with them and use them. I just think it's freaking awesome. All that to say,
awesome.
Guys, if you want to take part in this giveaway, and it is completely free to enter, zero catch, completely free to enter. All you need to do is go to winabassbuilderschool.com and you will find it there. winabassbuilderschool.com, totally free to enter. And then once you've entered, we've got all of these other fun things that you can do to earn extra entries, extra tickets. That's what it's called, I think, extra tickets. Basically, you can earn extra entries by doing all of these cool things. So yeah, go check it out. You can, and hopefully we'll be sending you one of these basses, and you might even be the next owner of this beautiful bass, the BN5F bass, the banana bass, which is just like the bass of a lifetime. Yeah, absolutely awesome.
Dude, the search for Excalibur continues.
It continues, man. It's so fun to
It is.
Yeah, like it really is. Like, and I've got no idea. Like, obviously, I'm speaking with somebody at the minute. We've been speaking. We've been speaking about that. Is that it? Is like, I don't know what it is.
Right.
I don't know what it is. Is it just like, is it another F bass? I'm going to gravitate back to another F bass.
Right. Well, dude, I mean, as you're talking about all this, I can't help but think about into the future when, like, we're remembering, we're going, oh man, remember when you were really into this bass, or remember when we just got so excited about this stuff, and remember the Kubickies, and remember, like, I see, and then I had this feeling, this is so weird, man. I mean, this actually shows me how I feel connected to you. I was actually thinking, when we're 70, I'm going to find the banana bass, and we're going to get it back. That's what I thought, and we're gonna give it to Story.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing.
Like,
yeah. And maybe it's like, feel that. Wouldn't it be amazing to get it back and it's all battle scarred? And just sort of like, it's done 10,000 gigs. It's 30 years in the future and it's done 10,000 gigs. That would be so freaking cool.
It'd be so cool. Yeah. I love that. I mean, I love it. I love the possibilities. And we've talked about this before, but yeah, I have a dear friend named Justin Charbonneau. Shout out to Charbonneau, who killer guitar player, and he talks about this where he's like, we don't own any of this stuff. Yeah. Once you get into your 40s, right, it's like you start thinking, all this stuff that we're so precious about, that we spend so much time and energy and money on, it does not go into the afterlife. It does not.
It's all like just with us for a second, right?
We're just a steward. It's gone.
Yeah, we're a steward. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's great. It's a great way of thinking about it.
It's sad to kind of like but it's also really cool as I'm sitting here like looking around at too many basses, dude. I'm just like, I gotta get on this train of letting some of these go. I'm like, oh man, I'm just too precious about this stuff. But it's so cool. It's very inspirational to see you do this and to see you let go of that bass. And I hope, God, if you win the banana bass, you better play some gigs, boy. Tell you what, you win that banana. I'm looking at you, podcast listener. You win this banana bass, please play the hell out of it. Don't keep it under your bed. Don't sell it on Reverb. I mean, whatever, it's your bass, right? You do whatever you want with it. But
if they sell it on Reverb, I'm going to buy it back. I freaking will buy this bass back without a shadow of a doubt. And then I'm going to do a YouTube video out of it like, she's back. Banana bass is back. I even might dress up for it. Yeah, it's going to be nice. It's going to be freaking great, man. But yeah, I do think that it's so interesting, all of these different basses that end up with, and I think that I'm a little different to some. I love the idea of finding these basses and spending time with them, because my the heroes of my past, the Gary Willises, the John Patitucci's, the Elaine Caron, the Jeff Andrews. They had that. They had these, and actually their basses lasted in terms of eras, lasted on much longer. They had real.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, like Jeff Andrews, man, I think that he had that same freaking bass for his entire career for the most part. That PJ bass that he had, it's
very cool. There's something about that too that's so cool.
Yeah, when somebody plays one instrument for their entire, it's a serious flex, dude. It's like for me, it's like the ultimate flex. It's something because you for most people, they've screwed it before they even got there. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're 4 basses in, you're 5 basses in, and then you have that realization that, some people play the same bass for their entire career. Like, you screwed it before you even realize it,
Dude, I'm just thinking about me right now and just hating it.
But I will say that it's, man, you come from it's like it is a different world, though. I think that
it is. Yes, I know.
Like I think that you're much like it's like you're a sessioning bassist. You like do a lot of studio work. You're not Mr. Jeff Andrews, that you're sort of like where like Jeff was doing his thing and imprinting that on a record. John Patitucci, very similar. Victor Wooten, Gary Willis, like all of those guys do their thing and get hired for their thing very specifically. Yes. Whereas like people like yourself, like, and all of those great, like Sean Hurley, John Button, like those session bassists that do like all of that studio work, they all have, a rack of basses that they need to be able to do, because they are getting hired because of who they are, because of their particular approach on the bass, but because they can also like really put the artist can, or the producer can put the trust in them to
pick the right thing.
Pick the right thing for the album, and that isn't, this is my sound. This is my sound. Yeah.
But it is interesting when I think about Hurley, and I think about, really when he started to find it, that, if you think about Hurley, you think about a P bass. I mean, good God, he's got a signature, right? Like Fender custom shop P bass.
Yes. Yeah.
It became kind of his thing. I just have to say, big shout out to Sean Hurley, John Button, guys like Tony Levin too, or Tony, right? If you think about Tony, it's a Stingray. And I do love this real fine line between, of course Sean is going to he'll have a 5-string at the session. He might even have a fretless at the session. I've seen him post about that stuff, but he's got a thing that he does get hired for. And then, I think that's really cool, where it's like a sideman with a voice. And it is interesting, dude. I will say, I'm looking around at all these bass guitars that I have. I have been playing this lull on sessions, and people have been freaking out about it. I've been playing that Vorin Saku on sessions, and people have been freaking out about it. There is a Spectre 5 behind me that I've been playing, and I have been playing like less of the wide variety assortment vintage things.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that is weird. Because I've always been, I've always been like, I've got a jazz with flats and a jazz with rounds, the Antigua, right? And hollow body basses with flats. I still play that stuff, but it is interesting. I find that I'm getting called now more for like my thing, which I'm, still looking for what that is. But it's maybe effects, it's soundscape, it's
soundscape, isn't it?
And no one is asking me, oh, hey man, can you make sure to play the Music Master? Oh, hey man, make sure that you're playing a Mustang. It doesn't happen. They're like, hey, do exactly what you think is the right thing. And it's interesting. I've been kind of leaning toward these instruments that have been built. I mean, I feel so fortunate, but have been built for me over these last couple years, and thinking like, whoa, so I'm having a bit of a renaissance as well, looking around at some of these old basses collected dust hay.
It's so interesting. Yeah, I think that you're right, though. I think that Hurley's definitely got, when you think about Sean, he's like got if you're a producer, you know what you're getting.
Exactly right.
Yeah. You know, you can do other stuff, but if you're hiring him to be Sean Hurley, you know what you're getting, right? You're getting
absolutely
like a P bass with flats and a very particular like type of playing as well. Same thing with you. If you're hiring you, if you're like, hey, come and do your thing, you're probably going to rock up with probably one of your jazz basses, but right now maybe the lull. Maybe it's like the IMA4, and also you are going to bring your effects. You are, right. And I don't think that you're going to turn up with a sort of like a huge pedal board, but you're going to bring. But I think that you have actually got a huge pedal board in your head, Mr. Allison. You don't need a huge pedal board of effects because you've got them all in your head, and you turn up with your little pedal board, yes. and it's full of freaking awesome effects. And I think that that's what when somebody reaches out to you to like, that's what you're becoming as a bass player,
right?
And I think that that's incredibly exciting. Trying to find what is your personality as a musician? Like, what is it? Because you fucking got one as a person.
Right.
You know, you've got one. Why shouldn't you have one as a musician?
Absolutely. And it just takes some time, right? It takes some time to figure it out. It takes some time to even admit the things that you like. Dude, I'm turning it back on you for a moment. You making this fusion record is such an awesome, bold statement of the things you love and your sound, you know? Like the things that you value, the sounds that you value, the playing that you value. And it's like, instead of you going, oh, well, you know, I'm going to try to do something that I think, you know, everyone will like. No, man, you planted a flag and you were like, I'm going to be the thing that you like. I'm going to show you why you should like this. That's what I see you doing. And I think that's fucking awesome, dude. I think it's so cool to say, here's what I like. I'm going to be enthusiastic about it. And you might jump on this train. You might have thought you weren't a fusion guy, but guess what? You know, check out this record, check out how passionate I am about it, and check out, and you just might find that you fall in love as well. And it's inspiring, man.
Oh, by the way, the album is going to be going onto YouTube. It might even, like, some of it might already be up on YouTube as this video goes out. So if you've not checked it out, make sure that you go check the album out. It'll certainly be, like, when we release it, I think it's really getting released on October 2nd. When we do release it, it's going to be up on Spotify, Apple Music, and all of those places. But then we will also be releasing it one track per week onto YouTube. We're also going to release a documentary onto YouTube about the making of it. And we've got the entire thing transcribed for you as well. All of the tab, all of the notation for the entire album, and it's totally free. And to get your mittens on that, all you need to go to is scottsalbumbonus.com. scottsalbumbonus.com, and you can get the free ebook there, which includes all of the tab and notation for the entire album. It's freaking super cool. Like, it's super cool stuff. But I will say, just to your earlier point, I'm not even sure that I've found who I am as a player yet. I'm not sure I have. And I think that that's interesting. And I think that what's really helping me, or like being a forcing function of this, is thinking about the musical projects that I'm going to be doing in the future.
Yes,
I'm like,
absolutely.
like, what am I going to do? Like, all of that stuff. And also just to note that you can see that change in other people's career as well. You know, like if you look at Pino Palladino, for instance, when he was in the 80s, he was predominantly playing fretless. Right. He was like touring with, you know, that's what he was getting hired for, you know. That's right. And then like late 80s, early 90s, he's playing with sort of like Dominic Miller and Manu Katsu. They've got this like sort of like fusion trio, like that whole thing. He's doing that. And then suddenly he slides into, like I'm sure somebody knows the full story, I don't. He slides into the D'Angelo gig, and suddenly he's playing a P bass with flats. Crazy, yes. He went from playing a Music Man and playing like full on 80s stuff, and then he had the fusion stuff he was doing with Dominic Miller, and then now suddenly not now, but then he slides into doing the D'Angelo gig, and then from the D'Angelo gig ends up doing lots of like R&B, sort of like that folk, like it was wild. John Mayer, again, he's playing the P bass. Yeah, so, and I think his playing is actually similar-ish across the eras of Pino, but there is definitely changes within those eras, like as well. Like there is certain things that do stay the same, but man, there are some big changes in the way he plays as well.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he's a chameleon. I mean, he can really, remember when we did a video where we're like, oh my God, look at all these jazz chops Pino has, you know? Yeah. And like, you would never know if you heard him just play with Paul Young. You would never really know he had jazz chops just listening to Vultures by John Mayer, right? But it's really, he really values the song, values the aesthetic of the sound. He's not always trying to get Pino fills in at every possible moment. But he is one of the dudes that plays a lot and it always sounds good. Like he plays like a lot. He plays a lot of fills. He plays a lot of, right? But it always feels like musical and the right choice. It's always moving the song and energy forward. I love that about him. Man,
absolutely. Yeah, no, he's a beast. And talking about beast, man, just sort of like to throw it in there, I was listening to a live concert of Grover Washington last night, 1981.
Yeah.
Steve, have you seen it? Steve Gadd on kit with Anthony Jackson playing his original four-string, the Korea Girl, four-string jazz, stripped ash body with a P bass neck, and Anthony Jackson is outrageous. Mate, he is. It was one of them kind of like real, like when you watch somebody when they're sort of like, they've done their thing, everybody knows who they are.
Yeah.
Like, they're like in their 50s or 60s, whatever, right? And you're like, oh yeah, like they're really great. They're phenomenal. But like watching him back then, he was off the freaking hook. He was insane. Like it's worth going to check it out.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, and the music as well. I will say that the music isn't sort of like super up my street or anything like that. So I had to do, and I'm sure for a lot of you listeners as well, it might not be up your street either. It is worth just sitting down with a beer or a cider or a wine or whatever, takes your fancy, and just watching that concert, Grover Washington, 1981, live. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And there are certain moments where he just does some crazy stuff. Like he like when we did that video with Jim and we were like transcribing his fills and we were like, what is he even it's that concert is full of those fills that are very just don't sound like anybody else but him.
Right.
They just sound like him. I'm not sure where he was coming from, who he was listening to. Like he cites James Jamerson as being his like main influence, but when I listen to those fills, I'm just not sure who I hear other than Anthony Jackson.
Yeah, that's
pretty
so
incredible.
Cool.
Yeah,
another sideman, just like one of the greatest.
Yeah.
Just beast. So
Dude,
cool.
Should we switch gears and talk about pedals?
Yeah.
We've talked about so much in this episode. It's been great.
It's been so fun, man. It's been so fun. But yeah, we got to give the people some pedals.
Yeah, dude.
I've had this idea of wanting to do, we've talked a lot about esoteric stuff. We've talked about single pedals. We've talked about multi-effects and the difference, but we've never given here's the thing. I'm so into pedals that sometimes I forget that people are, that not everyone is, and that some people feel like daunted by it and it feels scary, right? So I thought it would be really fun to do 5 pedals, 5 styles of pedals, and then some actual recommendations. So look, I've even got the pedals in front of me, you guys. I'm prepared. I came prepared. Okay, I'm going to talk to you about my recommends, the stuff that I love, the stuff that I have experience with, and I will recommend some stuff to you. Scott's going to too. Look, we're going to leave a ton of stuff out because we've not played all the pedals, right? I mean, there's so many to play. And you guys might be like, I can't believe they're not talking about this.
What was your pitch for it? Like the 5 pedals that somebody needs, or what's the
5 styles of pedal. Like if you want to get into the game, here are my top 5 recommendations of the type of pedal. So there's all kinds of things, and we can get into it right now. But what I'm leaving out, I'm going to leave out boring stuff. I mean, yes, you should have a tuner probably, right? But I'm not going to talk about tuners. I'm also not going to talk about multi-effects. I'm not going to recommend you the Line 6HX Stomp, which I think is maybe the greatest multi-effects processor of all time.
Hey, baby. So one's on its way to me.
Are you serious?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
out to incoming.
Shout out to Dan, freaking like because Yamaha they distribute. Or I think that Yamaha own Line 6, and we were doing a session for SBL with Yannick Gwizdala down in London.
Yes.
Early last week, and Dan was there, and I got speaking to Dan, and he was like, and I can't remember what we were talking about. He was saying, "Oh, Yamaha own Line 6," and I said, "You know who's selling more Line 6 pedals for you than anybody on the planet?" I was like, Mr. Ian Allison. I got Instagram up, dude. I was like showing him your beautiful face. I was like, that is Ian Allison, right? You need to give him a shout.
Oh my God. And then he sends you the HX Stomp. Come on.
And he was like, have you got one? And I was like, I haven't got one. And he's like, We'll fix you up. So there is one.
Did I lose you?
There is one coming in the post, hopefully very soon. But quick one, by the way. Did I introduce you to Dan via email? I'm not sure. Did I introduce you to Dan via? I did.
You did. You did.
Great. Because I was supposed to. Great. Awesome. As I was talking about this, I was like, oh shit, I forgot to introduce Ian to Dan. Right. Great. I've done that. Great. Awesome.
No, it's all good. I lost you for a second there, so I don't know.
I just kept on speaking.
Good.
I lost you too. I just kept speaking. Yeah.
I hope there was a moment where we're like, did I introduce you to Dan? And I was just like this.
There wasn't. No, I just thought I just keep on talking until you came back. But dude, have you got one of the white HX Stomps or one of the dark ones?
Dude, I've got a regular old black, sparkly black HX Stomp. It's fine, but you don't think I've peeped that Stormtrooper HX Stomp, the white one? Good Lord,
dude! How do you get a white one? What's the vibe?
It was a special edition they did. I mean, they're no longer. But right now they're doing a purple one, which is cool. But the white one, to me, they might have even done a red one. I could be making that up. But yeah, occasionally they release a different color. It's so cool. But look, I mean, here's the thing. That pedal, it's the greatest multi-effects processor of all time. I think it is. Like by leaps and bounds, actually. It's small. You can do so much with it, but it does require a learning curve. It's not super intuitive to use. You don't pull it out, and it doesn't have, knobs on it for drive and volume.
It's not like this.
Right.
Where we're just like hitting pedals.
It's a computer, essentially, right? You can edit on it. You can edit on your laptop as well. And look, I've got a bunch of presets I made for it. I'm super proud of them. If you want to check them out, you can check them out at my website, which is ianmartinallison.com. But also, I really want to give people value in terms of if you would rather eat ground glass than play through a little computer and have to edit, I get it. I get it. So I want to give people some like real concrete, here's what you should check out.
Dude. I'm going to grab some pedals while you're talking.
Get some pedals. I'm going to start. And I wonder if Scott and I'll grab some of the same ones. But I think number one, the first thing you should consider if you're like, I want a pedal, but I don't really know. Now, again, I'm not talking to you about tuners. Okay, the first one that will actually radically change your sound is an octave pedal. I have a Boss OC5 here. There are others. Of course, there's the 3-leaf, but 3-leaf's unobtainium. I mean, that stuff is super expensive to get now on the used market. I have one on my big board here, which I can show you in a moment. But this is the OC5 based on the OC2 from Boss. What an octave pedal does is it takes the sound that you play and drops it down 1 octave. There's also, you can go 2 octaves down, which isn't super great for bass. This also has an octave up feature in this new OC5, but an octave pedal to me is designed to get you thinking more like a key bass. So you're playing everything up an octave from where you normally would, right? If you're playing a low E, this will it'll sound like garbage and won't track. So you don't do that. You play a high E, this synthesizes a low E. You can then mix that low synthesis in with your dry signal, or you can just have, there's the old Yannick Gwizdala thing, and I think Jonathan Marin actually maybe started this, of like playing octave only. Was it Tim Lefebvre?
Maybe Tim Lefebvre. Maybe it wasn't Yannick. It was either Tim or Jonathan, one of those guys. Okay, question for you, because I know lots of sort of like if you go into talk bass and stuff like that, everybody's super nerdy about the OC2.
Yeah,
this is the OC2.
There you go.
Like the original. So you can go onto Reverb and buy these for probably quite expensive, or you can get the OC5. Ian Allison, if you are a bass player, what are you going for, OC2 or OC5?
I'm going to get the 5. Because I actually have a couple of OC2s and the switches are a little goofy. Like they're old enough now where now I feel like the switches need to be replaced. They come on, they turn off and on about half the time. So I'm going to recommend to you that you just embrace the new thing. And in fact, a real budget conscious choice would be the OC3, which I feel like they haven't caught on yet. OC3s sound amazing. They even have drive in them. They sound huge and awesome. And for whatever reason, and that's called the Super Octave, the Boss Super Octave, OC3, the predecessor of the OC2. And man, I feel like they're fairly inexpensive on Reverb. But if you want to just get the new thing, this OC5 is awesome. Again, I mentioned MXR makes a really good one. Also, another shout out to Aguilar. The Optimizer is actually, it has one of the most useful filters on any octave that I have found. That's a really cool pedal as well. But I mean, if I were just going out and buying one, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get an octave pedal. I would probably do the OC5.
Got it.
Yeah.
Plus one for the MXR.
You like that one?
Yeah. And I used to use this one a lot as well. EBS Octabass is great.
Oh, dude, that was my first octave pedal, an Octabass. EBS.
Love them. Yeah, super simple, just like like really 2 knobs. I like the simple stuff.
And the thing, if you love to play clean signal mixed with octave signal, that EBS might be the choice for you. It has a really smooth octave sound with not a lot of like grime and character in it. It's not the choice if you want to do that sort of Tim LaFave, Jonathan Marin, John Davis nerve vibe where you're just having like
it's just sub. It's just sub, and it's
that thing, that sort of square wavy neo jazz thing is I think it's the OC lineup does that better than the EBS, but the EBS does the like clean combined thing super well. Great pedal.
So for your first pedal, you're going octave.
I think so, because it's the easiest thing to like change your entire perception. It's like, wow, now you have, if you just have an octave pedal, you have regular bass guitar, and then you have key bass mode. You can almost step on that thing and it transports you into this new almost dimension where like now you're thinking about like a key bass player. And I think that's really, really cool. Would that be the first one you would recommend, or would you recommend something different?
No, it would be octave.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. We agree. I'm moving on to number 2. How about this? Then the next thing you need, I think, is some kind of saturation. I'm going to talk about drive first.
Ooh, yeah.
Something to change the gain structure, to give you some overdrive, to give you some dirt, to give you some, a little bit of zhuzh, maybe to punch up a solo to just change your sound. It's such an easy way, like a drive pedal is an easy way, again, to just get more kind of harmonic richness out of your instrument, or full-on kind of aggression if you play with a pick. I also think that a distortion or overdrive pedal helps you sort of sit in a mix really nicely. So for recording, I think it's really cool as well. There are so many frickin' options out here. But I will tell you, one that I don't have in front of me right now, but I love, is the Pork Loin by Way Huge. They also put that pedal into one of their other pedals called a Pork and Pickle. And that is...
Check it out, dude.
Do you know that one?
I'm holding it up. I've got it right here.
I can't see your video right now.
Oh, yeah. Pork and Pickle. It's the, Way Huge Pork and Pickle I've got right here.
And that pedal has a drive circuit in it that is lovely, and a fuzz circuit. So there's a little toggle that you can have drive or fuzz. The great thing about the Way Huge stuff, and a lot of this stuff that we're going to be recommending, is when you step on it, it doesn't drop all of your bottom end out.
Yes.
That's the thing of it. If you plug into just a straight up sort of guitar, an old guitar distortion pedal, like a Boss
all of
DS1.
your bottom end just disappears.
Yeah. And you play it in your bedroom, like, this is sick. And then, here comes the big moment with your band, and you reach for the distortion pedal, and bam, and you hit it, and now the band sounds smaller. Oh, it's so funny that the video is just delayed for me, so now I see you holding up the Pork and Pickle. Incredible.
Oh, there you go.
That's a great pedal. But I want to give you a recommend too of a company that I think was one of the first boutique pedal companies of all time, and they make a drive that is so unsung. It is by Zvex, and this is called the Basstortion. Dude, this pedal, they were one of the first to get on this train of kind of like trying to do an amp in a box. And they say that this is sort of like an SVT power section in a box. So it doesn't have like tons of just like blasty distortion, but it sounds, I mean, I feel like you put all knobs at noon on this thing and it just sounds so good. There's a hint of breakup. The bottom is so beautiful. There's a hint of compression. This is one that I've had on boards before where I've just left it on all the time. It's a wonderfully versatile. It's small. The batteries last forever. You can, of course, plug it in as well. I like the zebra stripes. Basstortion, man. This is totally unsung. By an awesome pedal company. So in the beginning, it was Full Tone and Zvex. I think they were the two, at least on my radar, that were doing a few things that were sort of bass specific and boutique that wasn't, MXR and Boss.
Yeah, there's so many fuzz and overdrives, isn't there? Like, I'm looking at my shelf over there. I've got so much stuff. Like, I've got, obviously, like, the Way Huge Pork and Pickle. I've also got a bunch of Dark Glass stuff as well.
Oh, dude, the Dark Glass stuff. Of course, for overdrive. Yes.
Yeah, like, just for instance, I'll just grab a few. I've got, like, the Alpha Omega, which is right here.
And that's a really heavy distortion.
I've got the Alpha Omicron.
Oh, and that's maybe the heavier one, actually, the Omicron.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
I've got a bunch. Microtubes. I've got a bunch of them.
Yep. And those, I mean, I feel like the Dark Glass stuff is very sound signature. It has like there's a thing that the Dark Glass stuff all does in the low mid-range that you either really love or you really don't love. I feel like for me, I don't use that stuff a ton, but when I'm going for like a thing of like, this needs to be like a heavy rock thing, I do reach for it. And, speaking of Dark Glass, can we move into fuzz? I just have a couple fuzz recommendations because that is actually a different category for me. That would be my third recommend to you, is something that does actually a fuzz sound.
So you've got like octave, you've got overdrive, and then you've got fuzz. Got it.
For me, I think they're two different things, and is
that your number three though? Is that your number three? It is your number fuzz. Three. Okay, great.
Yeah. And I want to, if you have something different, that's awesome. But let me just say, this little guy by Dark Glass, it's so cute. The Rose Gold DFZ, which I feel like probably pissed off a bunch of the metal contingent of the Dark Glass. It's so funny. They're like really experimenting with other aesthetics, which
this is post-Korg acquisition.
Yeah, it is. That's true. Yeah. And I think this is really smart. But this is their Duality fuzz, which I actually did the first review for on YouTube ages ago. I love that fuzz. Actually, when Spencer from Three Leaf was making Dark Glass pedals, I feel like no one knows that happened, but it did. And I was the guy that got caught up in all that madness. This is a new enclosure. It just has two controls on it. There's controls on the inside as well. This sounds awesome. You can blend with clean. It's a big, aggressive, super monster fuzz. But if you pair this with the octave pedal, you're immediately in synth bass territory. You can kind of use it on your own as like, to sound big fuzzy rock and rolly, Jack White or maybe Black Keys or something. But when you pair it with an octave pedal, it sounds like Stevie Wonder, or it sounds like hip hop music, or it's very cool. This is
so good.
This is killer. This is such a great. And then also too, I want to say, another one that I love that's a really incredible fuzz is another Zvex pedal that I've used a lot called the Mastertron. It's gated, so you can do stuff that's like, and it's super tight.
Oh, wow.
Incredible fuzz pedal that is, again, a bit of a sleeper, I think. Last fuzz and overdrive combo, so akin to the Pork and Pickle that we talked about. I usually have this back on my shelf because it's so damn pretty, but this is from Beatronics.
That's gorgeous,
and it's so cool. This is called the Royal Jelly. I had to look at it.
Beatronics.
It's a drive and fuzz combo. You can use them independently. You can use them simultaneously. The advantage of this pedal over the Way Huge Pork and Pickle is that you can switch. You can almost sort of have channels where you don't have to actually bend down and do the toggle. So if you want to set up a drive sound, set up a fuzz sound, you have it all in one pedal.
Because that's the pain in the ass about the Pork and Pickle. It's like you've got your overdrive sound, right?
Yes.
But then if like if you want your fuzz sound, then you might need to change it all. So it's
right.
almost like in a live situation to a certain extent, half of the pedals sort of like defunct because you need to use overdrive or fuzz.
Right. And there's guys like, I think Justin Meldal Johnson has 2 of those on his board, and one is set to be, a drive, and because he loves it so much, and the other one is set to fuzz. But I think the Beatronic stuff is incredible too. They're so beautiful. They make really interesting things that work really well for bass. So I wanted to shout them out as well.
They do look beautiful, don't they?
So
they're like
cool.
so nice.
Yeah, and just they're really thoughtfully designed and really interesting, sometimes kind of complicated, but really just designed with such care. They're incredible at Beatronics. Really cool pedals.
So we've got octave.
Yep.
Drive.
Yep.
We've got fuzz, and we've got 2 more slots. With drive, Ian, is that like, because some people like, when you think of drive, what's your, when you say fuzz, I know exactly what you're thinking.
Yes.
But drive has got it's a real range of different.
It really
so for
is.
you, when you think about like it being on the pedal board, I need a drive. Primarily, what's it doing? And I guess to even be more to the point, is it just adding like a little bit of grit to the signal? Is it doing that, which is something that a lot of people do, or is it like very audible? Oh, this is distortion.
It depends on the tune. I think one said I wouldn't talk about the HX. I said I wouldn't talk about it. But the Tima model inside the HX Stomp, when you blend it with a clean, is incredible at doing both things. So, and also that bass distortion, that ZVEX bass distortion that I showed you, also even the Way Huge Pork and Pickle, you have this real incredible range, like you're saying, Scott, with the drive, where you can have it just be on a bit and kind of warming it up, and sort of like guitar players call it edge of breakup, right? Where like when you dig in, it breaks up, but when you kind of hold back, it doesn't, it doesn't sound like you have a lot of distortion on, but it just... Everything is better when it's on. You know what I mean? You could push out a little bit. It almost simulates what this idea of having a tube amp, right? Where you've got a little bit of character and grit when you push it, but that when you play back, it's clean. That's one way to do it.
It's maybe what people would use this bass rig for, right?
Yes.
The Origin Effects thing.
Yes. And those I didn't consider in the drive category because I think of that actually as like a DI. To me, that's I think of that as like a preamp DI, which because of the XLR out. But you're right. You could just, those are expensive. And if you could just use that as a drive. But to me, we can, I think that pedals like that. So the Origin bass rigs, the Jad Freer Capo is another one. Or even like this guy, this bass preamp that, MXR makes. People totally sleep on this. This is a fantastic sounding preamp. You can't get, it doesn't grind. It's very clean.
What's that one? I can't see it.
Yeah, it's called the bass preamp.
Oh, is it just called bass preamp?
Bass preamp. And man, I plugged it in because I did a thing and I was like, oh, hold on. This thing sounds awesome. It's wide and clean, not super expensive. So I said, all right, I'm going to add a 6th. This one is going to go at the bottom of the list. We still have a few things to talk about, but if we're talking about the top 5, I'm going to say a DI is number 6 because I think of a DI as maybe not being the most important thing to add something to your sound, but I do think a DI is important. I did a whole big long podcast episode about DIs. Go check that out. I failed to mention this, and then I played this the other day and was like, oh man, this is actually really cool and a really budget-friendly option. And I've actually been thinking about building a board with this on it. But so like a Noble DI or that bass preamp or what Scott held up, the Origin. To me, those are like DIs at the end of a chain that can give you amp characteristics. That's what I think of those bass rigs for versus like a standalone distortion or overdrive pedal. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's put them. They're in sort of like category B. They're in the sidelines
Yeah,
in a minute.
yes.
But yeah, so we've got the octaves, we've got the fuzz.
Yeah.
No, we've got the octaves, we've got the overdrive, we've got the fuzz.
Yeah.
Next,
have
we got
for
a chorus?
Me, next is modulation. And there's so many options. I'm a chorus guy. I love chorus. So my two choices of standalone chorus, I actually really like the MXR Bass Chorus Deluxe. It's got a bunch of...
There we go.
Yeah.
Got it right here, dude.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yeah. Very good. It has a flanger mode on it. So, you've got a choice of two different styles. But the reason this is cool is not just to do like 80s with a pick and, Nirvana, 80s, 90s, like Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, The Cure. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's like, eras of this. Also, Pino played chorus. Tony Levin. Now it's late. Now it's showing up for me. Amazing. This is a really cool effect, and it kind of got sort of got mired in the 80s, and people used it so much that it was sort of left in the 80s and 90s. And then in the 2000s, chorus was not cool. It was all about phaser, baby. But I think it's back. I think it's timeless now. I use chorus when I'm using octave pedal to sound like synth, or when I'm using fuzz to kind of take it more into synthesizer territory. It's just another really cool way to kind of change your bass sound into this new thing. I also have to give Boss a shout. This is one of my favorite sounding choruses of all time, and I love how it functions. It just has buttons that you press. And
nice.
Listen, do a little pedal ASMR. You like that? I'm pressing the buttons on the Boss Dimension. It's my favorite color, purple. I will say about this pedal, it's meant for guitar, so it does, you'd notice a tiny bit of bottom end loss, but when it's combined with an octave pedal, good night. This is one of the coolest sounding choruses of all time, I think. I love this pedal very much. Yes. Okay. How about you? You got, are you down with that? Are you down with that?
I'm down with the chorus, dude.
Okay.
I was holding up the chorus. Yeah,
all right,
I'm down with the chorus.
All right.
And then finally, obviously, I know what's going to be next. It's going to be delays and reverbs, right?
Dude, it's not.
What?
It's a little bit out of order, and you're gonna be pissed about this.
I can't live without delays or reverbs. I will say.
Okay. Well, this is gonna be great because here I'm gonna say it's compression. I think it's compression.
I've got. Can you see me?
No, but I do love that you don't agree.
I'm holding up the little Cali 76 that you just held up. I'm holding up that. I have got the big one as well, but the little one is much more portable and easy to use.
Of course, yes.
Well, not easy to use, but much more portable.
I've got a little one here too. This is the stacked. Yeah, Scott's got probably the compact bass, right? That's the bass specific one. This one, they don't market it for bass, but I think it's my favorite of the little ones. It has two 1176 circuits in it that you can combine. So you can set up one to be punchy, like, an 1176, and the other one to be like kind of slow and sustainy, like a LA2A, I think, and kind of blend those with your dry. This is my favorite standalone that they make. It's really aggressive and cool, or it can be really syrupy and slow. This is a badass compressor. Compressor makes your loud stuff quieter and your quiet stuff louder. And you're like, why would I want that? Dear God, I probably should do a whole podcast episode about it. I think it just makes everything you play sound a little more finished. It's not the most, it's not like, whoa, I struggled. Like, was I going to put envelope filter in the 5 spot, Scott? Was I gonna? I was maybe gonna. Ooh. God damn. And I didn't. I went compression. This is just true for me. I play with a compressor on almost always.
You have it on all the time, don't you? Yeah.
I just like the way it sounds. I love the way it kind of contains me. I love the way I feel like it brings nuance out. It actually brings ghost notes out a little bit. Like you said, the top of the pod, put a little compression on with that cab. But so this is an expensive, esoteric thing that I'm showing you here. I mean, not esoteric, but this is an expensive pedal. So if you want something that is cheaper, actually, I'm hesitant to even recommend I haven't experimented with a lot of like budget compressors. I think if you're going to do it, I would get an Origin. That's what I'm going to say. And how about you, Scott? You've got some other things.
This is a fun one. This Pigtronics, this little Pigtronics bass compressor. That's fun, actually. Like very different from this, but it's still cool. And for me, it's with compression, I can definitely live without it. I'm not like an always on at the minute, but I'm definitely open to experimenting with it. But where I've really felt it in the past is like on gigs. Actually, that's where I really kind of enjoy it when I've got it on a gig and I can just sort of like feel it and how it's changing the actual texture of the note. It kind of sort of like for me falls into that category of like tube amps, right?
Yeah.
What's it really? You listen to people on YouTube playing with it. It doesn't really. I mean, it doesn't translate.
Yes,
it
that's so
It doesn't
true.
translate. Yeah, but when you get in a live band and you play with a compressor on, it is a slightly different experience for sure. And it's
absolutely.
And it's actually really fun to experiment with. But yeah, so like, but you were saying that you weren't sure that was in the fifth category, right? Was it going to be an envelope filter?
Well, yeah, it just is in the 5 spot for me, because I think like this is sort of the order of importance for me. I guess maybe even compressor would be first, but just like thinking about what I really value and like pedals that make the biggest difference, that's how I ordered it. And then I was like, oh man, but envelope filter. So, and of course, like you had said, reverb, and God, I mean, I love spring reverb. But I was trying to think about like, if you want to get into this and get some pedals that are going to be like bangers, worth the money, and you can apply them right away, I stand by my list, although I do feel like I'm missing that envelope filter spot. You've got an envelope filter that's badass. Yes, I love that thing that you have, the Emma discombobulator or something.
Discombobulator or bobulates. I don't know what it is, but it's made by Emma Discombobulator. It sounds great. So I think that having an envelope filter, for me, I'm like, is it on the Desert Island pedal board?
I know,
like,
right?
Even like an envelope filter in general. Like, it's so fun to use. I'm not sure whether it's on the Desert Island board, though. But something that absolutely would be on the Desert Island board for me is reverb and delay. Like one of the two. I just need it. I just need it for when I'm playing melodies and I'm going, and dude, I think you need it too. You're whipping out you've got the chorus on, you've got the pick. You've got the tremolo, you've got the pick.
No.
Oh, where is it? Like, I want you just after this podcast, you just get that tremolo on, get that pick out, and play it without reverb, dude. It's just gonna sound super dry.
You're totally right. You're totally right. But I also think that that's a little esoteric. Like, I think that in terms of a recommend, that's something. Yes, it is something that I love. I don't know, man. I was just thinking, like, it wouldn't be like a spring reverb pedal would not be the thing that I would recommend to someone actually in the top 5. Like, I wouldn't. Like a working bass player, I don't know. Now, if you want to experiment with, like Scott's saying, with melodies, like, you put on reverb and delay for when you're playing, up high, playing melodies. Absolutely. I totally agree. But if you're playing in a church, or you're playing in a wedding band, or you're like, God, I know I need to, I probably should play kind of a synthy bass sound for when we play the Bruno Mars tunes. Like, I guess that's kind of where I'm coming from. I probably should have said that. At the top,
it's good.
Like, working bass player, but dude, for me, absolutely, man, I would be sorely missing trem and reverb.
And reverb as well.
I would really miss it.
We need more than 5 slots.
No, it's a 10 slot. Hey,
it's a 10 slot. It's a 10 slot.
Yeah, it's a 10 slot. Because people ask me about this board all the time, and I just have it here, so I may as well show it. I've got some real expensive, unicorny crap on here, but this is the board that I play probably the most, that people have seen me play, that people ask me about all the time. I've got a big box Cali 76, which I just think sounds wonderful. It's my favorite compressor I've ever played. Scott's got one too. Yeah. I run into an octave pedal here made by 3-Leaf. This is almost unobtainium right now. But this is an amazing octave pedal. It allows you to play it combined.
You can get them, but they're
with your
like
dry.
£1,000 or something.
Oh, they're like $1,000.
Yeah, they're crazy. Yeah.
You can play, you can set up a channel to have it combined with your dry, and then you can just solo out the bottom octave sound. So to do that kind of like, neo jazz electronic vibe. Then this is probably my favorite fuzz of all time. I didn't recommend it because, again, they are hen's teeth. They're so expensive, and they're so they're just crazy. There's one on Reverb now for $5,000. And it's the Doom 2 by 3-Leaf, and I love it. I love it very much. So if you can find one, I would recommend it. It's very interesting. And then I also have, of course, the Line 6 HX Stomp. So, and this is a multi-effects processor that does all the things. It's like the greatest Swiss Army knife, but even calling it that is a bit reductive. It's an incredible supercomputer of effects. And then I've got a fancy Tube DI made by Noble, and that is my board. It's little. It's all the things that I love, sparing no expense, right? And I haven't changed it actually in a long time. This has been the current iteration. I have a small board that I fly with, but this is like my, quote unquote big board. And I use it almost every day in the recording at home for SBL stuff, out on gigs. I use this board all the time. I love it. Yeah. And I feel like I lost Scott Devine. It's just me now on the podcast until Scott Devine comes back. Are you with me? He's still out. Uh-oh. And it looks like we've lost Scott off of the call. Hey, you know what? Let me just say this. Sometimes the internet can be tricky, right? Sometimes the internet can be tricky. But you guys, I'm fine to wrap this up. So again, get an octave pedal. It's going to take you into synth bass territory. Get a drive, get a fuzz, get a chorus, maybe get a compressor, or you know what? Dealer's choice in the 5 spot. And then I said number 6 is a preamp or a DI. And hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what all that stuff is, why I would like it, why Scott would like it, why he might choose something different, and why, if maybe the multi-effect thing isn't your vibe, the standalone thing might be your vibe. You can try them out one at a time. Last thing I want to say too is, there are pedals out there too. The Amazon pedals, the Behringer pedals. Oh, he's back.
I'm back.
Dude, I was wrapping it up. I'm going down with the ship, baby. I was just saying, I just given a recap, Scott. And I was also saying that if you want to try some of this stuff, there's actually nothing wrong with buying some really inexpensive options. Honestly, the Behringer pedals, which I think can be obtained on, Sweetwater, Thomann, Reverb, Amazon even, for like between $20 and $50. If you're like, I've always wanted to try tremolo, but you maybe don't want to spend $200 on a fancy, right? You can get a Behringer one, and then you can decide. You wonder, and maybe it sounds awesome, and then maybe you're the artist that plays the cheap pedal, and it's a super sick flex. You know, you don't have to have the best crap on your board. Maybe you're like Tom Morello, and you've had the same pedals on your board for 20 years, and you're just the baddest to ever do it, and it's all good.
Dude, he is the baddest to ever do it. Ever,
he is.
Ever. Can you remember the first time you heard Tom Morello?
I can, actually. Dude, it was in 9th grade, and my buddy Matt Anderson put headphones on me and said, listen to this. And it went zoom ding 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 ding. It was bomb track, and it went, oh, outlandish. Outlandish indeed. Yes.
Oh, should we wrap it, dude?
Yep. Incredible. So much fun. I tried to fly through that. Hopefully it was valuable to you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It was freaking valuable to me. And I'm sat here now with all of these pedals around me. So once I get the kids to bed tonight, I'm going to come and plug in and make a noise.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, thanks so much for listening. As you mentioned earlier, we've got a giveaway going on. If you want to be part of it, just go to winabassbuilderschool.com and you'll find it there. It's completely free to enter. Also, if you've checked out the album on Spotify or Apple Music or any of those places, amazing. Thank you so much. And if you want want the tab and notation completely free for the entire album, we've put an ebook together for you, and all you need to do is go to scottsalbumbonus.com and you can grab it there. And that is it. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Bye.
Take care, everybody.